Who's the biggest loser your son/daughter has dated? My daughter dated a guy who was a crappy, lying, lazy, abusive, gaslighting butthole. Besides that, he 1. Dropped out of high school at 14. 2. Never attempted to get a diploma equivalency. 3. Had more than one conviction for public intoxication, underage drinking, drunk driving, which left him 4. Unable to get a job for approximately 18 months of the about 2 years they were together. 5. Got fired from Walmart after only working 2 weeks for missing work because his kid supposedly was victim of an abduction attempt. Turns out the kid made it up. 6. Smoked weed in her apartment bathroom, knowing that if my daughter failed a drug screen her career would be ruined. 7. Had his 2 kids every other weekend, but spent the entire time with headphones on, gaming, meaning my daughter had to watch his kids or they'd destroy her apartment. 8. Would only eat corn or potatoes, hamburgers or chicken fingers, or pizza, but fast food was a-okay. 9. Never picked up after himself, so every horizontal surface was covered in half-drunk pop cans, fast food wrappers, cups and bags, dirty plates, moldy food. Daughter is an RN and worked 12-hour shifts, which is sort of an excuse. 10. Punched a hole in her apartment wall. 11. Held a gun to his own head, then laughed at her for taking him seriously. 12. Constantly accused her of cheating, so she had to unfriend all males on her Facebook, including her father. 13. Threatened to leave when her anxiety and depression had her sleeping anytime she wasn't at work. And 14. When she finally took him up on his bluff, it was during a terrifying food throwing, soda hurling, furniture smashing temper tantrum that had her grab her cats from under the bed and come to my house 50 miles away. I could go on, but remembering all that is turning my stomach. In cleaning her apartment afterward, we had to wash the walls from where he had done a Hollywood-style sweep of the coffee table top, spraying Dr. Pepper all over the carpet, TV and stand, wall, and canvas art, all the way to the ceiling. Then for good measure he smashed the coffee table. He was a complete tool, and with the help of a therapist she is finally getting back to the funny, intelligent, confident girl she was before he messed her head up. I am thrilled I don't have to dread that phone call. You know, the one where she was calling to say he'd beaten her. There would have been a long line of people wanting to pull his bowstrings up through his throat. Believe me. Or worse, one from a coroner. My little sister dated a guy who kept trying to convince her to drop out of a UC school and move into his mom's garage with him, up to and including threatening suicide if she didn't. It took way too much effort on my dad and my part to get her to put the kibosh on that relationship, mostly because the guy's mom thought my sister was good for him and tried to fight us on it. Lord, please let someone take him away from me. My sister dated them all. My favorite was a guy who convinced her to have joint bank accounts and stole 6 months worth of pay from her. We didn't know until after the relationship. The dude was a major conman salesman type that had like 4 different get-rich-quick schemes while they dated. My Bill's ex wanted them to have a joint account. He already paid for almost everything but had a bad feeling about it. She pestered him about it for months. She finally ended things when their lease was up, but we told him not to expect to get the money back she owed him. But it could have been so much worse if they'd had a joint account. While nothing compared to some of the stories here, it doesn't feel great to see my daughter move in with a high school dropout and take a break from college. I'm expecting any day now to hear that her savings that was supposed to be for college will be going to pay off his debt. My sister dated a guy, let's call him Tom, who worked under my dad at the business he owns and runs. Now I'm not saying Tom was a loser because worked for our family. My sister and I both work in similar positions and that's how they met. But there were a number of instances that just shouted, hey what's up, I'm Tom and I'm a loser. For example, Tom seemed to never have any money, usually blaming things like his rent being too high or his car needing to be worked on. Due to this, my sister ended up having to pay for the majority of the dates and dinners that they went on. In reality, he had spent most of his money on unnecessary toys like dirt bikes, guns, and modifications for his 1999 Honda Civic. His spending habits got so bad that his landlord threatened him with eviction. This tore my sister up, not because he was getting evicted but because she knew that he was making enough money to never be in that type of situation. Anyway, Tom got the bright idea to ask her and my father for the rent money, $650, while they were out to dinner. My dad ended up helping him out so he wouldn't go homeless. But what he didn't know was that Tom had asked him for more money than what his rent was so he could go out and spend it on other things other than my sister. So yeah, he was a loser and I didn't like him much. In reality, he had spent most of his money on unnecessary toys like modifications for his 1999 Honda Civic. Lord, for some reason that offended my sight so badly I had to take a break before reading the rest of the comment. My really quite intelligent daughter once dated a lad who didn't know the difference between the sun and the moon. Not joking. The moon is just the sun at night, of course. Not my kid, but my brother. He dated this crazy possessive chick who once buried one of his shirts because another girl complimented him on it in front of her. She also totaled his car after lying and saying she had gotten her license back. She gave $400 to a fake iPhone scammer website Western Union because they are a legit company. I saw pictures of their warehouse and everything. I googled warehouse. The picture on their site was the first one that came up. She even paid $100 more to expedite through customs when the delivery didn't arrive when expected. And the pest racist, she killed his dog. She left at 7 PM on the coffee table and he chewed up the bottle. By some miracle no pills got out and crisis averted. It was explained to her that the pills would be fatal to the dog. She bought another bottle and left it on the coffee table again. This time dog ate half the bottle and his kidneys failed. Sucks because he was the sweetest, smartest dog I've ever known. TLDR. Bro dated a girl that killed his car and dog. And the pest racist and she killed his dog. She left at 7 PM on the coffee table and he chewed up the bottle. Well, that sucks, but it could have been an accident. She bought another bottle and left it on the coffee table again. This time dog ate half the bottle and his kidneys failed. Frick this person. Obligatory not a son or daughter scenario, but my older brother dated a girl who pretended that she broke all of her bones in a car wreck. She put both of her arms in slings, put braces on her legs, and a travel pillow around her neck. I remember her asking her about her back, if all of her bones were broken anyway, and she started to cry. LOL, they didn't last long. Brother's girlfriend hit my English bulldog with a shovel because he was barking and it scared her, as she showed up unexpectedly at my parents' house around 1 AM. He is still with her because she's lonely and has no friends or family. Maybe because she's a psychotic bee. Oh, wow. I'd have ended up in jail for assault if someone did that to one of my pets. Not that I'm criticizing you in any way at all. Just can't believe the nerve of that crazy bee. My sister dated a guy who lied about being a Navy SEAL. Apparently there is like a whole community of people who do that. Just go around unemployed living on telling their SOS when they disappear for weeks at a time that they were deployed. It never made any sense to us. And she broke up with him for other reasons and gets really pissed off if anyone mentions the relationship happened. He was a creepy dude who took advantage of her trusting nature and that she was at a low point in her life. And I regret not doing more to call him out on his obvious bulls. He's still in the area doing God knows what, probably trotting out the same crap to new women. I hope one day he gets his butt beat by a real Navy SEAL. This happened to my cousin, except they were married for about 10 years before it came out. He even handed her mom the flag at her World War II veteran father's funeral. I always felt something wasn't right about him and now I know why. My sister is dating a guy who is a butthole to everyone he meets, but cries when you give it right back to him. He is also an enabler to her depression and anxiety. Instead of trying to encourage her to fix herself, he tells her that she doesn't need to and he will do it for her. Instead of trying to fix herself, he'll do it. Is really dangerous and feels manipulative. Having her rely on him ends up going bad. My husband's cousin was married to a man who cheated on her for months, and then moved his mistress into their home and tried to convince his wife that they could all be lovers together. He also got into the illegal pot dealing game after Colorado legalized weed. Got into the illegal pot dealing game after Denver legalized weed. Go to find your niche. My sister is married to a guy who has 2 swastikas tattooed on his back. Nuff said. My brother is currently dating and engaged to one of the worst people I've ever met. She is manipulative and controlling. She likes to do crappy, mean things, and when confronted will act completely innocent and play the victim. and she has on several occasions made up stories and lied for the sole purpose of causing chaos. She almost destroyed my other brother's marriage. His wife is her best friend and has all but ruined my brother's relationship with our mom and other sister. I really think she is entertained by the misery she causes. The best part of all of it, they are getting married in 11 days. How does she have a best friend? She says it was the guy that was a drug runner. I obviously didn't know about this and am only being told because he's long gone from her life. As nice as my brother-in-law is, he is pretty terrible in terms of job goals, life ambitions. He hasn't worked a steady job for almost 10 years or so and is now pushing like 40. He had been a UPS driver and either lost that job or was laid off or something, and since then, he has just done oddball things to kind of keep money in. But nothing has flourished or lasted long. He was going to be a singing coach. He was going to do lawn maintenance. And currently his next big venture is dog walk sitting. Consequently, my sister works 3 jobs to keep their family comfortable and to support my niece. It wouldn't be so terrible if he did more stuff around the house. But after this past visit to their home, I don't think he does much of anything other than sit around and watch TV and maybe make dinner every once in a while. My dad has tried subtly talking to her about the situation, but she says she's happy with her life. But sometimes her tone says something else. I'm a guy. My ex was like this. Unemployed for years. Never did any housework. I worked from 4:30 am to 6 PM every day. Then took care of the house. Read to our kid and made him his food, etc. Kept telling everyone I was fine with things. I wasn't. I was miserable. Thank God she cheated on me and I manned up enough to leave. Life is so much better now. My sister dated this douchebag. He lived in a house his dad owned and she moved in with him. He stayed at home slinging C. She held respectable jobs. He was a general shithead. Stole drugs from his mom and such. They bought a crappy Firebird together with her money, but he titled it in his name. When she finally left him, my father and I drove the Firebird and parked it in our garage. Covered all the windows looking in. He would call us every day and rant to us how he was going to call the cops and or kick our butt. After telling a sob story to the DMV, we ended up getting this son of a supervisor who transferred the title to my sister's name, so she could sell the heap of junk and recoup some of her money. Oh, how I wish it was unbelievable for someone to buy something expensive, but allow their significant other to keep the legal documentation in their name. Unfortunately, I see this in the near future for a relative of mine. An ex stabbed me in the thigh with an X-Acto blade once. Full blade in the thigh. I could see my muscles working and had to pick out the pad fibers. Wanna know why he stabbed me in the thigh? Well, I have 2 toes on each foot that are webbed. He wanted me to let him cut those instead. That is psycho behavior. Glad he is an ex. Funny enough, every father of any girl I have ever dated thinks I am a loser. It usually starts with something along the lines of "I don't like your name," and usually goes downhill from there. I'm not sure I'd want my daughter dating someone named the Window Licker either. Not my daughter but my niece. When she was 14 she met a dude on the internet who was 22 and from across the country. We were not happy. He came to visit and he was the weirdest dude I ever met. I was only 4 years older and tried to have conversations with him, but he was just monosyllabic. Exactly the kind of dude who you would expect to hit on 14-year-olds in anime forums on the internet. Of course we watched them like a hawk and they were never left alone together. I still admire my sister. She firmly put down the rules. No being alone together, no sleeping in the same room, etc. But never said anything against the relationship. The whole thing ended pretty much right after his visit. If my sister had forbidden it, I am sure it would have gone on much longer. My best friend dated the worst man on earth. Classic mental gaslighting abuser type. Never made her feel pretty or good. Always compared her to other girls. Told her she wasn't beautiful, sexy, feminine, or attractive to him. Keep in mind she is an attractive, perfect bodied type, who is also kind, funny, hardworking, etc. Most would consider a catch. He cut her family out. Tried to convince her friends were trash to cut us out. If we went out to a bar, he'd be dancing with chatting up other women all night while she sat alone. The kicker though, during her chemotherapy treatments he criticized her about not keeping up with house cleaning, cooking, and for not plowing him enough. while she was literally fighting death. Sick as a dog vomiting. This pose is wondering when he's gonna get oral. She lost nearly all her friends because of her resistance to any advice to get away. Happy ending. She's married to a different and very good man now. Hugh. One of my friends brought her new boyfriend to our weekly church youth group meetup. He openly bragged about how he could manipulate anyone into doing whatever he wanted and tried to dominate all of the other guys in the room by proving how much smarter, stronger, more athletic he was. She pulled the plug pretty quickly. I dated a lot of stupid, just plain dumb guys in high school. One of the worst mistakes was my boyfriend's sophomore year told me he had lung cancer because he's been smoking cigarettes since he was 8. He wrote me like this weird journal letter about it. I didn't believe him for a second, but continued dating him for another month or so. He's married with a kid now, so I'm pretty sure the cancer thing wasn't true. Mayo. My mom lied to us about having cancer. I'm not sure why, but probably because we were pissed at her for divorcing my dad, and she wanted sympathy. Blake, we took him into our home for a few months, so he could save up some money. Our internet bill went through the roof. I think he played video games. Then one day, Independence Day, he dumped her, all while his clan from Texas was camping in our yard on the way to a music festival. I guess I should have keyed in when he mentioned he had moved multiple times. I hate when people use up all the internet. Okay, so I can answer this for both of my parents since they don't use Reddit. At 15 I started dating an 18-year-old boy named John. He and his even worse mom lived in someone's hallway. That's right, the two of them, on a twin mattress, in a hallway, together. They both refused to get jobs, but he did have a throwaway phone. Since I was 15 I wanted to text call him, so I paid to put minutes on his phone every week, with my lunch money. Yeah, we went boating with my grandparents and he tried to have sex with me on their boat. It was a fishing boat, and only about 10 feet long. So he tried to have sex within 10 feet of my grandparents and baby brother, in their line of sight. We went to a sporting event for my baby brother and he made me go outside and tried to have sex with me on a public picnic table. He would beg me for money to feed him and his mother. Then, when I tried to break up with him he told me no. He wasn't allowing the breakup. I told him I was serious, and then behaved as if we were broken up anyway. So when I moved on he told everyone I cheated on him, then stalked my new boyfriend. Once he realized it was actually over, he and his mom called me non-stop one night saying they wanted his hoodie back. I said I would bring it to them the next day, but that wasn't good enough. They needed it right then. So they said they were going to come to my house and get it, at 3 AM. I told them no, and he and his mom left a voicemail on my phone saying they were on their way and were going to beat me up over stealing this hoodie. I was a minor, he was 18, and she was over 40, so I called the cops. If my parents used Reddit they would probably mention my ex-boyfriend who I dated long distance online from 19 to 22. He lived with his parents, didn't want to get a job, smoked weed all day and did mushrooms for clarity. Forced me to avoid talking to others or even go out with my family to do things because he would blow up my phone saying I was cheating due to his lousy ex-relationship he was cheated on during. He had a kid at 18 during a drunken one-night stand and had to babysit her every week while complaining about her grandmother, who was taking care of her because the mother didn't want her. He didn't pay child support, so he had to guiltily take care of the kid at every beck and call of the grandmother. Lashed out at me constantly and would starve himself for days to make me feel bad about literally anything that mildly bothered him. Generally needed a lot of freaking help that he refused to get. I was at a really low point in my life and thought I was worthless and that he was the only one that could love me. I know my parents wouldn't get into my love affairs, but they were absolutely thrilled when I finally grew self-worth and got out of it. I had always pieced together information about him to them because I knew they wouldn't approve. And every time I said more they held back but were obviously thinking he was trash. I cringe extremely hard when I remember all of it. My daughter is 12. You have all given me a really crappy outlook on the next several years. Damn it. My dad doesn't Reddit, but my parents hated my ex. We met when we were 16 and were on and off for 4 years. He constantly cheated on me and was just a crap person. I ended up pregnant at 18 and I worked through most of pregnancy, while he didn't do crap. I got him a job but he didn't keep it. I broke up with him when my daughter was 8 months old, about 5 months after my mom passed away. He hasn't been in mine or my daughter's life for about 4 years. His loss. She's amazing. That guy is adult. I'm a stepdad and M wife was in a similar situation. His loss for sure. My stepdaughter is almost 19 and is an awesome sweetheart and one of my best friends. Girlfriend's daughter hooks up with this dude who claimed he was a SEAL and talked all kinds of crap. I let this guy go off for hours about how bad he was and all the black ops he was part of. He was laying it on thick and I let him keep talking. About 2 John Wayne hero stories later I said, show me your trident tattoo. He looked at me and said it was concealed. I asked him what ordnance did he pack when on a mission? No answer. Then asked where did he take his bud class, in Florida or Oregon? He says Florida. I tell him he is full of crap. 10 minutes later he's gone and I catch heck and grief from daughter and girlfriend for chasing the dude away. But he was a SEAL. He was going to show her all his medals and awards. I still chuckle about this. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.